Hello, hello. Welcome everyone. I see some familiar names. Thank you for joining us. Oh, Mel, go ahead. Oh,
I was
maybe
waving. I did not mean to raise my hand. AI is needs to mind its own business sometimes.
not. No worries. Um,
Hey,
Hi.
Bob.
Hey.
So good to see you. Well, I just see my face really big, which is very distracting. So I'm just gonna go ahead and share my screen. There we go. Much better. Hi, Barb. It's great to see you. Hi, Cheryl. Welcome. Marilyn, Christina, Kathy, Lori, Michael, we see you. Thank you for coming today. We are just getting off a call, Farm Yarns, to honor the launch, the official launch of our newest storytelling pillar called Nana, which is focused on the culture in agriculture. So it was an incredible conversation. For those of you who couldn't join us, highly recommend to catch the recording. We had some incredible speakers join from multiple parts of the world. There was an Ayurvedic health practitioner who's focused on endocrinology and women's health. We had Sarela Herrada too, who's the co-founder and CEO of Simply, incredibly like clean, vertically integrated packaged goods product, and Lucio as well, who has a lot of experience working with indigenous food systems and agricultural practices. It was really incredible. So yeah, we'll be sharing the recording up on YouTube very soon and some highlights on our social media as well. So it was a good foundation kind of pre this conversation that we're about to jump into. So yeah, without further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. Um, and just friendly reminder that this is meant to be conversational and fluid. It's an intimate space. So please feel free to chime in at any point if you have any questions, thoughts, contributions. You can either raise your hand or just go off mic and chime in. Okay, so before we dive into the website, um, I wanted to share this graph, which we love and has been really helpful for us at Farmers Footprint. Last year, we reorganized our storytelling pillars and priorities. As many of you know, and for those of you who have been following Farmers Footprint since the beginning, a lot of how we, or a big part of how we started our work was really focused at the intersection of human and planetary health, especially with our co-founders' lived experience as a doctor and the work that he did in uh, oncology and metabolic health, endocrinology as well. That was a lot of our work really came from that intersection of our agricultural and health systems. And it wasn't until more recently that we realized that we were missing an essential piece of the puzzle, which is the culture in agriculture. Part of what we talked about in the call we had earlier today with Rana, the Ayurvedic health practitioner, is seeing that oftentimes in conversations around regenerative agriculture, oh, there's a little bit of background noise. Could someone maybe mute their mic? I don't know if that's just me, but there we go. Um, Yeah, so something that came up in today's conversation is that oftentimes when we hear about regenerative agriculture and the question of what is regenerative agriculture, there is no there is no federally recognized definition of the term, or really like recognized definition of it. There seem to be very interpretations of it. Some hold it to a higher standard. There's the risk of it being greenwashed if we don't have like a shared understanding of what is regenerative agriculture. And oftentimes it also gets reduced to a series of technical practices. A lot of them focused on building the quality of our soil and rotational grazing. Again, very important, essential, really, elements of regenerative agriculture, but it's not just about that. It doesn't just stay there, especially when we remember and reconsider the origin of regenerative agriculture, and it's stemming from an indigenous worldview and indigenous paradigms of being in right relationship with the environments that we're stewarding, or that farmers are stewarding and growing food with. Um, there is that reverence, that cultural piece of it, that oftentimes doesn't make the conversations about regenerative agriculture, and especially because the culture from each place varies. So there is just like we cannot take a set of regenerative agriculture practices such as rotational grazing and apply that in any context. I mean, if we think of doing rotational grazing in a forest, for example, it would destroy it. It's essential that the nuances that vary so much from place to place and context to context are considered in regenerative agriculture, so that we can get to a place where we're working alongside nature and enhancing nature's cycles. So once our internal team started having more conversations about that, and seeing that with other people in the space too, we realized that we needed to include this third pillar in our storytelling, which is a culture piece. And today we
Mm.
are very excited to share that the website, the landing page for this pillar, is finally live. So you can see here, it is also the first section of our work that is fully translated to Spanish. So everything is available in English and Spanish, and this is also something that we're starting to do with other features in the health and agriculture pillars as well, especially when we do a feature with a community or a group who might not speak English, or English is not their first language. It's really important to us that the community that we're highlighting is able to read the story about themselves in a more appropriate language. So our team is yeah, just reprioritizing that, and diversifying not just the stories that we tell and the creatives that are documenting these stories, but also the language, so that these stories can resonate in a more direct and authentic way with broader communities. So that's a big win for us, and something that we're celebrating. So yeah, without further ado, this is the Nana landing page, and you will see the first feature here. Who, yeah, B, would you like to share a little bit about this feature, since you wrote it?
Sure. Hi, everybody. Welcome to this call as we're so excited to bring to the world and everyone here, Nana, as Alana so beautifully communicated in the Safe Culture channel. And as an Indigenous woman of Maori descent in New Zealand, I feel inherently Indigenous and ancestral, and so there's a series called Sit with Elders, and the Sit with Elders series is stories that stem from these conversations with Indigenous elders around the world. And this first launch story that we launched with is an invitation for all to anchor in and reconnect with their lineage, because I do and we do as a pharmaceutical team believe that everyone is ancestral. Um, to hold these native indigenous paradigms at heart, whether we're black or white or yellow or blue or purple, everybody is ancestral. And this is a really passionate story point for me as we bridge this division, for lack of better words, moving forward in a good to move forward in a good way. And so this story, this feature here, I invite everyone to read it. It's on the website. And there's an hour-long dialogue video there with Dr. Zach Bush and Oliver English and Maria Mia Lopez, who is a Chumash elder from Santa Barbara, which the original name of Santa Barbara is Houston. And so we sat in dialogues and conversation with Zach being a doctor and scientist and a Chumash elder, and bridged that pathway between science and spirit. And there's a really beautiful quote in here from Nia, the Chumash elder, saying that, it's funny, and this might sound quite brash, but she says it in the dialogue, and so I will repeat it. But she said, we're at this event in Santa Barbara in Montecito, and there were these, a lot of beautiful humans and philanthropists, and someone came up to her and said, "Oh, hey, Mia, you just want us to go home, don't you?" And she said, like, "No, you are home. We have our children here. We bury our parents here." And she said, "All I want you to do is to remember that you're ancestral. How do we do that? It's to look back into our lineage. At some point, we all had ancestors who were connected to culture and land and ritual and ceremony. So it's this feature specifically is an invitation to remind everybody that we are all Indigenous and we are all ancestral to this earth. And I do think that's a really powerful motive of unity as we all move forward. And further, allowing Nana to be this place of invitation and gentle nourishment, and not just indigeneity, not, it's not as black and white, it's a space of nuance for curiosity in those ancestral paradigms.
Mm. Thank you, Briar Rose. That was very beautifully articulated. And yeah, if you haven't had a chance to take a look at this feature, yeah, I really invite everyone to check it out. And as Briar Rose said, there's a written section and there's also a video at the end, with Dr. Zach Bush and Mia and Oliver English as well. And it's a beautiful conversation bridging the ancient and the future, which leads us to the rest of our stories and series as well within the Nana channel. And as Briar Rose pointed to, this is not just a channel to speak about ancient knowings that's focused on the past. It's really important for us as Farmers Footprint that we don't see Indigenous peoples or Native cultures as a relic of the past, and as something that is static, but that we see, that we can see the past and learn from it and integrate it into how we move forward. So Nana is this container to bridge the ancient and the future, and it's an open invitation for everybody. It doesn't matter where you come from, where you think you might be going. We hope that you can find here something that resonates with you, and maybe where you come from, maybe where you are, maybe where you're going. So we have 5 different series here. The first one being Sit with Elders, which is what Briar Rose was just speaking about. The Sit with Elders series are conversations with Indigenous elders around the globe. So we just launched the first one, the conversation with Mia Lopez from Siugstun, the Chumash elder, and in a few weeks we will be launching the second Sit with Elders feature, which is a conversation with a Peruvian elder from the Quero that talks about rites of passage. Really, really profound feature as well. And yeah, we have some other ones upcoming too. So similarly to the Meet a Farmer, where we are interviewing different farmers in their own contexts, the Sit with Elders is inspired from that kind of human-centric dialogue format.
Mhm.
Yeah, almost like a meet an elder.
Yeah.
And really we see ourselves as the team and the creatives that we collaborate with to document and tell these stories as the curious grandchilds um, with these elders. So we approach conversation from a place of curiosity and honoring the elders who are still walking with us today. We have the honor and the opportunity that a lot of these elders are still alive, and it is the moment where we can learn from them directly. And these elders are dying now. It's the last generation really in a lot of places that are still carrying this wisdom, this knowledge, and we're seeing a lot of openness from these communities as well,
Mhm.
at least the ones that we've come in contact with, that they are for many years they have protected these sacred knowledge that has been passed on for many generations, and we're
Mhm.
perhaps more hesitant to share it. But there seems to be a very collective kind of calling from a lot of different indigenous communities around the world that the time is now to share this information, so that
Mhm.
other communities can find inspiration in it and integrate it into
Mhm.
their lifestyle, their practice, their values as well. So this is a series that we're very excited about. Um, And then there's also the culture and agriculture series. And Briar Rose, please, like, I have a bad habit of just kind of like
Great.
monologuing in these conversations.
Mhm.
You've been so like close to the development of all of this. So please, if there's a section in particular that you want to speak to or add, just
No,
take the
I'd love
mic.
to reiterate your conversation with the Sit with Elders. I've been traveling a lot and sitting with these elders, and just to further highlight these ancient teachings for a modern world. There have been many, even amongst Maori and Polynesia, there are many elders who have literally said the time is now. And in a lot of indigenous prophecy, this time and this moment of our collective humanity that we're moving through, where there's suddenly choice of what our future is, they all feel that. And so this holds that space for that wisdom to come through. And it's just an honor to witness and tell the stories of these wisdom keepers.
Thank you. Yeah, it's really mind-blowing the way that it's a collective calling. It's a collective calling. It's something that we're seeing across very many different communities across the world right now. Oh, hi, Ricky. I just saw you in the chat. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Okay, so moving on to the next series, the culture and agriculture. So we were going back and forth if the culture and agriculture should be a series, because it really is the core of the whole pillar. So there was some internal back and forth on whether this was kind of the larger umbrella of the channel or a specific series, and then we decided to make it a specific series because there are some very unique and specific examples around the world of ways in which the agricultural practices of each place are expressed so differently, yet guided by the same principles and values of enhancing nature's processes and working with the earth's cycles and taking care of the biodiversity of the land, building soil, working with the community, and again the the way in which back to the first example that I shared at the beginning of the call, like if we were to narrow down regenerative agriculture to a specific set of practices that we tried to apply in different ecosystems, it would not work. It would not be beneficial. It would not be necessarily beneficial to a particular context. So we decided that it was very important to highlight the diversity of regenerative agricultural systems around the world, and how unique they can be and how much they can vary from place to place. And again, these systems are living archaeological sites. A lot of these systems have existed for thousands of years, and they are examples of humans working in harmony with nature and feeding their communities and taking care of their seeds and taking care of the land. So we will be launching a feature on the chinampas of Xochimilco very soon, which are almost like little islands in that still you can still visit them in the south of Mexico City. It used to be how most of the Aztec Empire fed themselves, and now they just take up a small part of the city. So there are a lot of incredible initiatives that are reigniting the chinampas of Xochimilco. And then we also have a Hopi agricultural feature that I don't know if you want to give us the behind the scenes. Not even the team has heard about that one.
Of course, at the moment, so I'm based in New Zealand because I do it with storytelling, but at the moment I'm traveling the US. I'm filming some incredible stories, and I've just come out of the Hopi Reservation here in Phoenix, no, Arizona. Um, and I sat with a 250th generation Hopi corn farmer, and to tell their story of community and resilience and prayer and ceremony um, is such a profound thing. Like this Hopi farmer, he said, because he said he gets a lot of people coming out to interview him, and they're like, why don't you just build an irrigation system in the desert? And he said, well, if we build an irrigation system, what will we pray for? Because all of the Hopi culture is around rain and moisture in the air. And so telling these stories of the original peoples on the original land. Someone mentioned in the chat earlier, are we connected with the Robin Wall Kimmerer? We aren't personally connected with her, but she is definitely an inspiration to this work specifically. I just want to read the quote under the Culture and Agriculture series. It says, we can't meaningfully proceed with healing with restoration, without restoration. And so these stories are restoring the land as we begin to reconnect to our origins of agriculture and food systems, and to do that through these ancient peoples and ways of food and farming. It feels like a profound learning moment for us in the regenerative agriculture space.
Mm. Wow, yeah, we're so excited about that feature, and also desert farming. Wow.
I
Who
don't
would
have
have thought?
irrigation systems. I've grown corn for 3,000 years. He gifted me some heirloom corn seeds that are 3,000 years old and have been handed down for 250 generations. And their people out on the Hopi Reserve are still in their own sovereign food system, and they're healthy and they're thriving. And I've mentioned this to a few of my regenerative agriculture farmer friends, and they're like, but how do they farm in the desert? And it's like it's a land-based practice with culture, community, and indigenous paradigms and faith behind it. So it's beautiful. And I'm excited to launch that story in the next few months there.
Yeah, we can't wait. Even just listening to you talk about this 250th generation farmer,
I had to stop the interview. It blew my mind, people. I was, it's like sixth generation. We just spent some time with Will Harris from White Oak Pastures, and he was a sixth generation farmer, and I was like in awe of that. And then I sat with a Hopi farmer, and at the start of the interview, he said, "I'm a 250th generation farmer," and I stopped the camera, and I was like, "What does that mean?" Like for the Hopi to hand down that farming from grandfathers to it's the male's role to farm, and the female does everything else in a matriarch and Hopi culture, but yeah, just a 250th generation farmer, really, the honor and sacredness of that interview is
Mm,
exciting, and I can't wait to learn from this channel.
yeah, it came up in the conversation we had earlier today too, in when we think of like 200 generations. I mean, like we're not used to thinking about next year or 5 years from now. So it really I think something that I've personally learned from working more on these series is the concept of time that a lot
Mhm,
of these cultures work with.
mhm,
They're really considering time in the span of generations, and
mhm.
how each of their actions is going to impact. I mean, 200 is a lot, but I think in a lot of communities we hear the seventh generation. It's like 7 generations back and 7 generations forward.
Mhm.
Um,
And
and
that also reiterates what you were saying earlier, Alana, about in regenerative agriculture and today's movement, there are certain principles and practices that Michael Petitwa Johnson, which is the quote I posted in the chat, he says that regenerative agriculture is incredible and it's such a needed movement, and the only way that it will remain constant is if we shift our values behind them. And that's what the Hopi farmers do. It's a values-based regenerative agricultural system as opposed to a principles-based. The principles can change, but we can copy paste them into different landscapes, and it's not going to work because each origin people have their own culture to that land, and so it's a values shift in humanity that we're moving towards, and that's often missed in just modern regenerative agricultural definition.
wow, that's a great insight. Shifting from a practice-based definition to a values alignment understanding of regenerative agriculture.
Mm-hmm.
Um, well, um, our next one here is ancestral foods. Hmm. And you will, because some of the features that we had developed as Farmers Footprint before we developed this new channel that is Nana, fall within these some of the topics that we're focusing on here. So you'll see some features that maybe you had already seen at Farmers Footprint, like the cacao feature, and then some new ones upcoming too. One on heritage seeds, one on heritage corn, and seed sovereignty, food sovereignty. In this series, we'll explore some of the staple crops considered sacred across the globe. So
Mm-hmm.
rice, wheat, corn, seed sovereignty, cacao, coffee. And it's really interesting because it is this very sacred staples who have currently become some of the most extractive crops in our systems today. So to understand where they come from, and the reverence in which some of these crops were grown and preserved and consumed by some of these native communities, can inspire a lot of the shifts that need to happen, both at a systemic level and for us as individuals too,
Right.
how we view and relate to these different staples. As
Yes, I
I'm
was
Oh, go
going
ahead.
to say too. Sorry, so I went to film this Hopi farmer to speak about farming. But I do, and I haven't actually told the team this yet either, but I do want to do a story from him that's just about the corn. what corn means to Hopi. Because corn, in the creation story of the Hopi, they were given four things, and it was a planting stick, corn seeds, a gourd of water, and faith. And so, just going back to the ancestral roots of these spiritual foods is a beautiful way to return to wisdom.
Beautiful. I'm excited to see it.
They do.
Yeah, I mean, as you can see, these conversations, our intention is really to invite you behind the scenes, into the conversations that we have as a team, and how we craft the different narratives, the different stories, the different pillars, and of what we focus on. What are the conversations that we are listening to when we go to different conferences, and really trying to be of service to this movement, and some of the controversial topics that we listen to. Even last week, our team was at the nutrient density conference in Georgia, Atlanta, and yeah, really seeing like some of the parallels between nutrient density and flavor, for example. Like just going back here for a second on ancestral foods, we are seeing some science and tools and technologies to begin measuring nutrient density in regeneratively grown crops, and how are they different to industrially produced crops. And we are starting to see that difference from the science. And at the same time, we realize that these are things that communities around the world have known forever. This is nothing new. This is not. It's like science is catching up to what we have always known. And it's specifically like the parallels between nutrient density and flavor are fascinating, because we we see that people for many generations relied on a seasonal diet, and not because they knew that it was more nutrient dense, but because it was more flavorful, it was available. There were traditions throughout the year that included these like traditional meals that used seasonal ingredients, and what was growing in the land in the community at the time. So it's been fascinating to start to see some of these parallels between culture and science and our agricultural and health systems. And as Mel and the team often says, which I love this analogy, we see culture, agriculture, and health like a braid that weave all the stories that we tell at Farmer's Footprint. So I'm gonna go back here. I just got a little excited with the food specific section of it, but I'm not gonna get ahead of myself. Um, Another series that we have here are the origin stories. So almost like companion planting for each story that we share on the larger Farmer's Footprint ecosystem, there will be a companion story, an origin story, that is focused on the story of that land, the original story of that land, the first people that walked it, the traditional culture of that territory, um, alongside each feature, whether it's a meet a farmer, beyond the harvest, etc.
I want to add there to Alana that when we were sitting with Mia from the Chumash tribe in Santa Barbara, which used to be Silkton, this series is inspired by her guidance and wisdom of, if you understand the land you stand on, even if you're not from that land, you are therefore in a deeper relationship with it. So if you're in Santa Barbara, Los Angeles, Malibu, like I'm in Sedona right now, I've started this practice of wherever I go, I Google the origin people and their culture. And so that when I'm stepping foot on that land, you're in deeper relationship with it and therefore in reciprocity with it. And that was her wisdom that she gave. And so this series comes from that, learning the story of that land so that we can all connect to wherever we are in the world. Because I know a lot of us aren't where our 20 year ago, 20 generations original ancestors are from, but to know the origin stories of the land you're on as an invitation to connect with that land.
Mm, thank you for that. Yeah, it's a great reminder and invitation to all of us on this call, even. Do you know the story of the land where you are today? Patty, I see you nodding.
Yes, it's an important question,
Mm-hmm.
and it does inform everything in terms of your nurturing, your nourishment, and what you're putting in your mouth. It makes sense, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that we are also informed that way by not only by the history mentally that we learn and what's happening, but also by our bodies if we have been in that culture for a long time. So that some of those things just taste so good and they feel quite nourishing to my body because I've been raised in the South, you know. And so I think that we have both things and that we're, you know, intertwined.
Oh,
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, it was even just listening to you. Again, I mean, apologies and not that I keep referencing the conversation we had earlier today. Um, it was just such a rich conversation, and it was celebrating the launch of Nana as well. So
Yes,
there's a lot of threads to pull from that, but just what as I listen to you, Patty, it reminds me of something that came up today. I think it was Sarela who mentioned like, industrialized food systems are not only stripping away the nutrients from our food, but they're also stripping away the meaning from
yes,
our food, and the identity of like as we or as our crops and our diets become more homogeneous all over the world, then we lose that meaning and those unique connections we that we remember, like you said, that our bodies remember at
yes,
a not just, I mean, taste as a memory and scent are very powerful, but also at a cellular level. Like we see
absolutely.
that different races even are um, like will process different crops better than others just based on how long their system has been processing wheat or rice or corn, and what happens when we all eat the same.
Yes,
Not only do we lose that culture and that tradition, but we're also losing that identity and that unique connection to our heritage, to the places that we come from, to the places where we live. So yeah, it just really reminding us to appreciate that diversity and resist homogenization in all its ways.
absolutely. Absolutely. And thank you. And my apologies for being late to your. Um, I just ended up having a call at the last minute and it was an important one. So I'm sorry to be in at such a late point, but
Oh,
thank you for including me.
you're right on
thank you for
time.
being here.
Right on time. Thank you for being here.
Absolutely.
And
Um,
team, I'm happy to share. I have been working in the background and I was able to get the recording in the chat. So it's
Oh,
there,
good.
it's ready so that you guys can save it for later. But now,
Thank
Alana,
you,
when you keep
Mel.
referencing the recording, we can actually
oh.
access the recording.
Thank you so much, Mel.
You're welcome,
Um,
y'all. Patty, happy to have you here today.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's lovely to be part of it.
and then for our last series, it's the immersive experiences. So our team is really excited to start collaborating with different individuals and organizations to host experiential food events. This could look a number of different ways, and the intention is to celebrate culture and community through food, through gathering, through reconnecting, celebrating, bringing back the joy, the deep connection that we have through food, reconnect with ourselves, with each other, with cultures from around the world. And yeah, so this is something that we're excited to continue building out and sharing more resources for people too, so that we can support you in maybe hosting a meal in your community, a potluck, a traditional meal, a celebration. It's just coming together. But yeah, I mentioned it to someone today. The way I feel about the Nana container now, it's like the periodic table before all the elements were discovered. Like we now have the different sections, and it's just the beginning. So we'll continue to feel in and to collaborate with different creatives, different chefs, different traditional cooks, to develop more stories for each of these series.
And hopefully we can have an immersive experience around more of our people here. Like Barbara so beautifully joined us at the Soul for Soil experience that we've been speaking about with Mia, the Truma Felder. It's just nice to actually, we can read all these stories, listen to all these stories, but to be in person and celebrating around food and community is a whole different lived experience moment. So keep an eye out for this one, people, so we can hopefully host more food, culture, community experiences in all the different areas that everyone is located in here.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Wonderful.
And in the kitchen with Nana, so this is a big this is kind of the origin of Nana, really. Food. So with this section, and that's why this has its own kind of bigger section, and it's not just a series, because we realize that even though not everyone might realize how directly we are impacted by agriculture, and how directly we are influenced by agriculture, everyone eats. Everyone eats multiple times a day. And what and how we eat will have a big impact, not just in ourselves, but also in the communities that we live on, and ultimately in the greater food system. So therefore, we decided to kind of reprioritize food as part of our overall ecosystem. And again, this is just the beginning, but we're going to start sharing a number of different recipes on the Farmer's Footprint page and socials. We have seasonal recipes, some of which we started making at the some of these we made together. Even I think there's one here where we see some tips and tricks from, I think it was Barb who shared. I want to find this just because she's joining us today. Well, anyways, I can't find it, but there was a tip that Barb here shared about how she crushes garlic with salt in the mortar, and we included it here, and referenced that this was her tip. So as we continue to build this out, again, it's a combination of staples. So we have bone broth here as the first one. We will keep adding on ferments and sourdough, then also proteins, toppings, dips, and sauces that you can add to any mix of fresh veggies, and then some more seasonal dishes. And our intention here not just with this section, but with all of it, is not only to celebrate and appreciate these traditional practices and information, but also to document it. I mean, we see with this, as I was saying in the beginning, like this generation of elders right now are transitioning to the next chapter of whatever they may be going, but they are dying now, that generation. So it is so important for those of us who are still here and future generations that we listen and that we document this information so that it's not lost. I mean, how many of us have family recipes that we cherish, and how many of us have family recipes that we will never taste again because they weren't written, because we didn't learn how to make them. So we are doing a call out soon to gather different recipes from different family traditions that feel called to share them, to develop a compilation of traditional family recipes that can be documented and shared and still practiced. Because when we need to remember that when we ask our farmers to grow more biodiverse crops, then we as consumers need to get used to cooking more diverse diets so that we can buy these variety of products and produce and roots and vegetables and spices from these farmers, and that it continues to be this very symbiotic relationship in which the biodiversity at a farm level is also reflected as in the diversity of our meals and in the diversity of the ingredients that we're using. It came up this morning as well. Like, if we eat the same thing every day, then how can we ask our farmers to diversify the crops that they are growing if we only want to eat rice and beans, or or one vegetable, if we only like one vegetable? Like, the biodiversity on the farm needs to mirror the diversity of our diets. And for that, it's important that we remember that eating a variety of meals is the most delicious thing ever. And a lot of the times, it can be difficult to know how to prepare ingredients that we're not used to. It can be intimidating. So that is why we have a dedicated section now on the website to share recipes. So again, we will have a section here for any of you or any community member that wants to share a recipe of your own, or a family recipe, or a recipe that you came across and that you liked, so that we can continue to add on to this library of recipes and traditional recipes from around the world, so that we can have inspiration, and learn ways to prepare these different ingredients, to save the scraps of what's left over, to eat more seasonally, and also more deliciously. It's very, very important to enjoy the food that we eat.
Wonderful.
Um, and then this is a personal letter that I won't get into here, but feel free to check it out on the website if you feel called to, kind of a little deeper into the inspiration behind Nana and why it started. Yeah, so I'm gonna bring us back here, and I would love to open it up for those of you tuning in. If there are any questions, reflections, thoughts, ideas, how is this landing for you? How is this resonating?
I'll share. I've been writing in the chat all along, just kind of going along with what you're talking about and ideas that I was on the last call, I believe. I think it was the last call. I'm not sure exactly when your last call was, but I was on. Have you only had one other call like this before, or?
We've had a few. We try to do them like every month and a half. But
Okay. Well, I'm interested in education and regenerative agriculture, farming, and that sort of thing. And so I'm in the process of looking for ways to connect things that you're doing and things that other folks are doing. And I mentioned in the chat, there's a docuseries called Roots So Deep, and it's fabulous comparison of partner farmers in Alabama. It's so well researched. You won't get into trouble with the rigor of the research that they used. It was a number of years study. Um, but what I want to do with that, and I'm in contact with them also, is to create curriculum that can be shared with middle school, high school, and ag teachers in the US, and create it so that substitute teachers can pick up the curriculum and video and go with it, because they show up, and they're trying to follow somebody's classroom instructions, and it's oftentimes a wasted period of time. And so I can see how uh, some of the things that you're developing could be very appropriate for like 4-H and FFA clubs, and starting with the food, is great. So I don't know if you guys are already into some of that. Um, can you let me know? Because I actually told the Roots folks today about you. And there's a really sharp young woman who's there. Uh, you guys would love each other. You get along really well.
Mhm.
And
we'd love to connect with them. We'd love to
yeah,
connect with
Please
them.
introduce us.
We
yeah.
don't we
And she
don't
wanted she
Okay.
wanted to she couldn't tune in today, so she said I'm gonna look them up and learn about them. So if you guys can look at their stuff too, I think it could be some really wonderful people to. Do you know Zach Bush? Are you familiar? Well, Zach Bush is your guy, right? Okay. Yeah.
Our
we're a little
co-founder.
bit
Okay, yeah,
familiar.
yeah. So you have a global focus in many ways, but I'm from Oklahoma in the US. And so I mentioned braiding sweetgrass because I love her whole philosophy. And but I think we have like 30 some odd tribes in Oklahoma alone, with probably lots of elder wisdom that will disappear. Uh, and when you watch the Roots documentary, you're going to see the average age of farmers is like 63. And so you're going to see these 80-year-old farmers and their 50-year-old kids, sons, trying to keep the family farm from losing the family farm. So it's absolutely what you're talking about. And anyway, so
Beautiful.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Sakura. We aren't currently working with any student groups, but it's something that we are very interested in. Um, both from, I mean, from an agricultural perspective, there's been a topic that has been coming up a lot is the concept of agronomists and how agronomists have become almost like sales representatives for big ag, when it really used to be like a thought partner and a support to the farmer to connect them with markets that valued the different things that they were growing, that was supporting them and their operation. That's something that keeps coming up. Agriculture as a social science keeps coming up too. And some of the intersections there, not just from a scientific perspective, but I mean, agriculture and food are political acts, and they have a deep influence in the way that societies develop, how resilient they are, how autonomous they are, sovereign. So that's also something that that we're interested in from a food perspective as well, and food education. I mean, even just for me personally, I actually reached out to bye Ricky. Thank you so much for joining us. It's
Thanks,
great to
Ricky.
see you as always. Um, yeah, from I was saying like a few, it was like a month ago or something like that, I actually reached out on Facebook to my biology middle school teacher to thank him because when I was in seventh grade, he played a movie for us in the classroom that kind of like opened my eyes to the realities of the industrial food system. And ever since that day, I never stopped thinking about it. And that's what I dedicate my life to. And it really all started with that one biology teacher who played a movie for us in that one class.
Yeah. That's what
Power of
I want to
storytelling.
share the roots because it's that powerful. And there's you probably are discovering this working with universities. Oftentimes they're dug into old traditions and they're very resistant. They get very focused. But in Oklahoma, there's an organization, well, it's a foundation called the Noble Foundation, and they're doing regenerative, and they've farming, ranching, and they have like done videos, and it's very hard to get traditional farmers to sign in because a lot of it is because of the age. They are tired, and it was be a big investment from their perspective. But the docu series shows how that can be addressed, and they start making transitions through by over 2 or 3 years. They are filming and they're studying the birds, they're studying the health of the animals, they're studying all kinds of things, and you'll be amazed at the transition. So
Yeah.
yeah, you can spend about $10 and get all 4 series, and it's addictive. I started watching it, and I was 4 hours later. But the first and the fourth are key if you have limited amount of time to watch. Um, you can watch it for 3 months, and I mean they're really just trying to get the word out. It's a
Mhm.
mission, just like your farmer footprints.
Mhm.
But
I
anyway.
do. I remember you joining our call last month. Like as soon as you said it, I was like, because I saw you originally, I was like, you look very familiar. Anyways, I remember when we connect last time, I was like, Fearless Farmers is a great nonprofit. They're in Texas that does this work. But I actually recently we found out while we were at a conference last week, but that they recently had to close their doors because they had a grant that was through the government and it got cut recently with the cuts. But anyways, their group, Fearless Farmers, we've worked with them in the past, but that's their whole concept is creating like kind of not itinerary. What am I trying to say? What your
Curriculum?
curriculum? Thank you. Curriculum for youth, like a youth curriculum program. And we had partnered with them in the past about that. But I'm curious if I could. I mean, I'm sure things are very tough for them right now. Obviously, if their funding hadn't been pulled, I'd been like, oh my gosh, this is such a great partnership. But the people who still were doing that work and running that organization obviously still have that wisdom. Obviously still have all of the criteria, all of the curriculum they created. And they're in Texas. So I mean, Oklahoma, Texas, very similar populations of people. They're rural Texas too, more west of me. I'm in Austin. They're like northwest between Dallas and Austin.
Right.
So anyways, they are a group. It's kind of a weird time right now, but maybe in the coming days, weeks, we could connect with them and see, because I'm sure they already have so much of that content already created.
Yeah. Well, and there's a lot in Oklahoma as well, curriculum that has been developed, but but it's not as regenerative oriented. And so
Their focus is regenerative ag. Like that's the whole stick.
So I would be interested in that. And the other thing is, I believe the documentaries, docu-series. If you guys have video and just the way learners are these days, they don't read. And
No.
and a substitute teacher who can come in, and that'll give me an open door to the ag teachers to show them the docuseries and the curriculum, and then they'll probably steal it. They will probably say, "Oh, I want to do that, in my class. I like this," and but it'll be the open door will be, when you have to leave, here's an option. And I'm hoping that if we can develop something really good, that we'll have kits around the state, so ag teachers all could have their kit. And once you see this, and then I'm thinking that you guys may have some of this also, especially around the food. And so I think what I hear from you, good fit would probably be with the clubs, the 4-H clubs, the FFA clubs, that your food events that you're working out. I think that might be a really good fit there. So I'm anxious to see what you've got, and then have you guys connect with. She's excited to see you guys, and you'll love her. Her name's Jess, in case somebody calls you and says they're Jess.
Yeah. I mean, we'd love to have a conversation with them. We again, like we want to work with teachers, or student groups is also something that has come to our awareness, like working directly with the students. They're incredible at organizing, and like organizing around certain topics that they're passionate about and interested in, and even younger than university. Like how can we speak to high school students,
Oh, and
middle
middle
school
school.
students?
When
Uh,
did you get changed? You got changed in middle
it
school.
was middle school for me. Yeah.
That's where it happens. Even fourth, fifth grade have their lives majorly impacted. And middle school kids have energy and they can't drive. So they are not as socially focused. So it's an ideal age to find access into. So anyway, so
Mhm.
I'm grateful you guys are doing this. I mean, it's coming together what I'm wanting to figure out how to do. So I just
Email's
kind
in
of,
the chat for you. Have her connect her right with us. All three of our emails are in the chat. Just have her shoot us an email. I'm gonna be offline next week, but the girls will be on, and
okay,
we'll connect.
I will copy that and send to her. Yeah.
Amazing.
Thank you for your work.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you for
you.
being here, all of you.
Thank you.
Well, we're over time. Strangely, I feel like this
Powerful
happens.
bunch of women. I'd sort of say that.
This happens to us every time. But yeah, just before we close things off, thank you so much to each and every one of you for putting the time aside to be in conversation with us, to listen to our work. We put a lot of thought, intention, and really hard work behind everything that you see come out. We're a very small team, as you'll see here. This is not the whole team. There are a few other people, but this is the core team that goes to the conferences, that reads the papers, that works on the stories, and makes it happen from the background. So it means a lot to us, to meet you in person. We couldn't do this work without you, and we're always open to your feedback, your ideas, your suggestions. We can't do this work in a silo. So just thank you again. And we look forward to seeing you again next month, or hopefully before that in one of our Farm Yarn conversations or IG lives.
Next
Yeah.
Farm Yarn is July 23rd. Next Collective Impact Call is July 30th. I locked them in today, so you can put them on your calendar. You'll get lots of emails about them, but you're the first to know, fresh off the press.
Wow.
Thank
And
you.
remember to catch the recording of today's Farm
Not on
Yarns
yet.
if you haven't. Well,
I'll resend it in the chat just so that before I close this bad boy. Where is it? There you go. I'll resend it just so you guys can have it fresh.
I've got that too. I'm going to send that to her too.
Wow.
So
amazing.
she'll get to meet you official on video at least. Okay. Thank you
Amazing.
guys.
everybody.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
See you soon.
Appreciate
Have a
you all.
good night.
Bye.